Following the publication of David Clarke's book, Converted on LSD Trip, the Oldham Chronicle newspaper wrote a spread in their paper on the 11th of January 2001. This was because David and Michael were both born in Oldham, and the book tells their story. Here is the news article. Oldham Chronicle, Thursday, January 11th, 2001. Ex-Crooks Religious Conversion. Preacher wants to share his experiences, by Karen Fraser. It has all the ingredients of a Hollywood blockbuster: crime, violence, drugs and a stretching borstal. But the story of former crook turned preacher Dave Clarke is all too real. Dave, 51, who grew up in Oldham, has released his autobiography, Converted on LSD Trip, which charts his life of violence and drug dealing and sudden conversion to Christianity, and it tells of his battle to save the soul of his brother Michael, whose mother insisted his name be spelt Michelle instead of Michael. Michael, who is serving a 16-year sentence in the Philippines for promoting sex tourism. The pair were born in Oldham, where their aunt lives, and they attended Clarksfield Infant School. They soon got into trouble and went off the rails when they moved down south. Their father had been in the army and mother in the Royal Air Force. David said, "We lived at my grandfather's home in Fleet Street, Clarksfield, but my father couldn't get a job in Oldham. We moved down south because my father had relatives in Watford, but later moved to Wilston, a village near Aylesbury. The children used to take the mickey out of our accents because we were smaller, and so we had to do things differently to get back at them. They were jailed for malicious wounding, for shooting a woman with an air pistol in 1970, but in 1970 the brothers' paths dramatically parted. Dave converted to Christianity after Jesus spoke to him during a bad trip on LSD. He is the father of 5 and is now involved in the Christian Gospel Church and teaches electronics at Fareham College near Portsmouth. Michael, who has a daughter, is languishing in jail in the Philippines after he was arrested for arranging sex tourism. Michael has always denied the charge. Here's David in his earlier days, in his pop group, The Foul and Mean. David banded together on the left with his former band, The Foul and Mean. My criminality started with thieving, and then my brother got into wounding and assaulted a police officer in Tring. I used to live off my brother's reputation. I became bold knowing he was a villain. We didn't care what we did to people. We would pick up girls and not care. Both were notorious in Buckinghamshire, where they lived in the 60s, where their exploits included everything from stealing cars, garage equipment and drug dealing. Dave admits people were sceptical of his conversion, after which he confessed to 24 crimes. He escaped a prison sentence and gave information leading to the recovery of over £1,000 worth of stolen property, including cars, garage equipment and even the TV set stolen from the old people's home in Winslow. £1,000 was equivalent to about £20,000 in today's money. People thought I was pulling a prank to get off being sent to prison. They put it down to the LSD. But I'm telling them Jesus did speak to me. Dave says, I have gone off the rails since then, but I've now got motivation for living. I'm certain, had I not become a Christian, I would have been dead by now. Michael has also converted to Christianity and was baptised in an old oil drum in New Bilibid prison in the Philippines. Dave hopes his experience will help others, and he gives talks about his life. I know lots of Christian parents whose children have gone into drugs. I know what they're going through and what drugs can do. I would advise the parents to get a copy of my book and let them read it and let them contact me. Dave's aunt, who does not want to be named, was sent a copy of the book. The 81-year-old said from her Oldham home, I have deliberately read it all and felt this could be dangerous for himself and for his children. He has a son who's studying at Manchester University. If someone got hold of the book, it could be interpreted very differently from what was intended. She asked him to take out some names, which he did. She adds, it's also unfair on his brother, as David has not been whiter than white himself. He dabbled with drugs when he was young, and I know his brother was upset about the book. David is still very unstable and tends to have ups and downs. The postscript to this is this. Dave adds, the reality is, even though my brother Michael died in New Bilibid prison of tuberculosis in 2005, before our vision of bringing help to many was realised, this story has now been written as a punk opera called Borstal Boy, and its debut performance is due to be performed in HMP Aylesbury Prison in the future.